Welcome into 49ers Access. My name is Sterling Bennett, and alongside me today is Dre from Dre Area Sports, because we have 7 days until the NFL trade deadline, and we all want to know, what are the San Francisco 49ers going to do? Will they go big? Trey Hendrickson, Max Crosby, Kayvon Thibodeau. Will they go small? Arden Key and more depth pieces. And there might be some drama surrounding Jauan Jennings. Getting into all of that today. But first, Dre, how you doing? It's Tuesday. San Francisco's 5-3, now third place in the NFC West. And Niner fans are not feeling too hot after week number 8.
They're not. And look, here's something to keep in the perspective, right? The Washington Commanders were in the NFC title game last year. And right now they're sitting at what? 2-5, 2-5, or
2-5.
2-5. Your San Francisco 49ers, who have a plethora of injuries, are sitting at 5-3. Things could be a lot worse. I would say that on Sunday, things were really a lot worse for the Niners and the way they played. What's going on? But can't believe we have to go to Trash Live. What's he talking about in the comment? But
I think he means Trashville.
Are we trash? This is Trash Live. But no, we're 5-3, and I think that it could be a lot worse. And we still have players coming back. I know we keep talking about that. Yeah. But look, it was a bad week, but I still think the Niners are still a good team.
Yeah, and look, that's the thing, is that I know we're sitting here, we're 5-3. Like, that loss against the Houston Texans was demoralizing. It was ugly. It was pathetic. Everything that could go wrong went wrong. Terrible defense, terrible offense. And it's really hard to erase that, because there is fear that the concerns, the issues you saw against the Houston Texans might continue throughout the rest of the remaining parts of the season. But as you can see on YouTube right now, almost every single player above you on the overlay or background, from Christian McCaffrey all the way to Brandon Aiyuk. Aiyuk hasn't played yet. Kittle has missed time. Purdy hasn't come back yet. Warner's out for the season. Nick Bosa's out for the season. And Christian McCaffrey and Lenore have been surprisingly healthy all year long. So it's been that kind of year for San Francisco, but they are half a game out of first place again, which is setting up for what looks to be a very important game against the Giants this Sunday at MetLife Stadium. But first, Dre, we have to get into some drama that may be surrounding wide receiver Jauan Jennings, because the game against the Houston Texans was not his best. And he dropped a pivotal deep pass in this game. It was a tough catch, sure, but it's one he has made in previous years and games in the past. But also a lot of penalties, 2 on him, a big face mask call that
it was so
negated
unnecessary.
Mac Jones' first down run. And now Niner fans are starting to turn on Jauan Jennings. I want to get your thoughts first on the receiver before we get into the nitty-gritty of the drama. But what are your takeaways from Jauan Jennings so far this season?
I think that with Jauan Jennings, obviously he bet on himself. He held out. He had a calf injury that lasted like 6 months, it felt like. And I know that he wanted more money. There's a rumor out there. People keep saying that he turned down a $16 million a year contract. I don't know if it's true or not. I would hope it's not true, because if he did, he's an idiot, because the way he's playing this season, he's not even going to get a contract worth really anything. The way he's playing this season, if he goes out on the free agent market, he's going to get a 1-year deal from some team, and it's going to be a prove it deal. Like, hey, we'll bring you in here, but you got to prove that you're worth it. Because look, he had a good game in the Super Bowl. He had a good season last season when he was healthy. Towards the end, he started getting hurt, and you didn't see him as much. But so far this year, there's been injuries. Yes, he's had some broken ribs. I mean, he didn't waste any time telling us about all of his injuries. But I think he really was hoping to have a season like he had last season. He's had the opposite. He's had a very mediocre season. On Sunday, he had 4 catches for 45 yards. Now, look, I will say this: his catch on the 3-yard line or whatever, great play.
3rd and 17, Niners had to get a score there, and they did. Large part of Jauan Jennings, but
great play. I was like, wow, amazing. But the deep pass, that again, the deep pass that he just, I mean, look, here's the thing: when you're getting paid all this money to catch a football, and you do what probably I would have done if they would have thrown me the ball, just like, it was just like, what happened? Even Mac Jones is like, you've got to be kidding me. And how many passes has Mac Jones thrown to receivers that were either dimes or just tough throws, and they've dropped them? And he's just like, oh my God, you've got to be kidding me. So when it comes to Jauan Jennings, would I give him a contract this offseason? No, I would not.
Wow.
Unless he's willing to take a 1-year deal, I would not offer him a big money contract because he hasn't played all that well this season to deserve a big contract.
So I think that we'll get into Jauan Jennings' future in San Francisco because things don't look too bright. They look pretty bleak right now. I will say that it does seem as if Jauan Jennings makes a handful of good plays per game, and we're very thankful for that. We love Jauan Jennings here. He's a great wide receiver, at least he has been in previous seasons. Sure. Super clutch. He's 3rd and Jauan for a reason. His energy levels, the way he plays is infectious. He was so integral into their postseason run 2 years ago now. But it does feel like this year, for every good play Jauan Jennings makes, there's about 2 to 3 negative plays that follow, whether it is missing a block, getting called for a penalty, or dropping a pass. And it just feels as if Jauan Jennings' time in San Francisco, although isn't over yet, and still time to change and alter what the future has been or could be, it just kind of feels like we're waiting for the end to come, and these two parties, that being the Niners and Jauan Jennings, are kind of looking to part ways. Now, I think San Francisco would love to have Jauan Jennings back. They would love to walk out in 2026 with Jauan Jennings and a healthy Brandon Aiyuk and a healthy Ricky Pearsall and Demarcus Robinson, healthy, not suspended, which he was this year. And it kind of stinks, but if the reports are true and Jauan Jennings turned down $16 million per year, which, okay, even if it was $14 million per year, I don't think he's sniffing 10 at this point in time. That's how bad he's been this season. He's been hurt. He's nearing his 30s. He isn't there yet, but he's nearing the age of 30. And usually you want to pay a guy when they're 28, when they're 27, coming out of college, and after their first contract's done. You're not paying Jauan then. You're paying Jauan after his first 2-year extension. Now he wants a third. And most teams don't want to invest in guys like that. I think Jauan's probably going to get a 2-year deal, maybe from a team like the Washington Commanders, maybe a team like the Los Angeles Rams, to pair him with Puka and Devontae Adams. Maybe a team like the Detroit Lions could fit for Jauan Jennings. But it does feel as if his time in San Francisco is over. And a big reason I say that is the fan base is turning on Jauan Jennings.
Yeah.
It's not just, Jauan had a bad play, get him next time, Tiger. It's, oh my God, Jauan Jennings missed that catch. How dare he? He's been hurt. He's been slow. He's aging. The animosity towards Brandon Aiyuk is kind of turning to now be facing Jauan Jennings. Fans are irate. They're tired of the antics. He's yelling at Kyle, the head coach on the sideline against the Buccaneers after post games, which I didn't think it was that big of a deal, but he's letting his injury news out to the public, and that doesn't always play well to his teammates. And so it does seem like the patience is wearing thin for Jauan in San Francisco, to a point of whether San Francisco wants to say goodbye or not, it might be beneficial for him to leave in free agency.
Oh, and this is what I was saying too, is that, like, let's say the Niners go out and make a move for a guy like Trey Hendrickson, right? Which I've said before, they should only make this move if he agrees to sign an extension. If he does, then guys like Jauan Jennings, see you later. He's not going to be back.
Sure.
I mean, you drafted Jordan Watkins. Yeah, he had Butterfingers on his only pass, but you still have Brandon Aiyuk. You still have Ricky Pearsall. So you still have talent at the receiving position. I just don't think with Jauan, he's a big, tall receiver, doesn't have that breakaway speed, doesn't have that deep threat. He can't stretch the field. Whenever he catches the ball, he usually always either gets run down or tripped up fairly quickly. He does a lot of good things, yes, and he blocks extremely well. But to me, this is not a guy that I would give a long-term extension to. At 29 years old, I don't think that's where you want to go at the receiver position. I think if you let Kyle draft some more receivers, maybe he'll get a good one late in the draft. But remember, Jauan Jennings was a 7th round pick.
Yeah,
I mean, it wasn't like he's a 2nd round pick, a 3rd round pick. He's a 7th round pick. So I think you can find guys to replace him. And
sure.
yeah, Marvicity, I think Jauan Jennings is kind of like a smaller tight end, like a lanky tight end. And the way he's conducted himself this season with the holdout slash, what was it? The calf injury.
Yeah.
And then the way he's performed this season, there's been games where he's looked pretty good, but then he had the game where he got mad that he wasn't getting the ball. Well,
Sure.
Look, nobody's played that well this season. And obviously Pearsall has been hurt, but like Kendrick Bourne, he had that game where he dropped all those passes and looked awful, but then he came back and had a monster 10-catch game to kind of make up for that. So that's what Jauan needs, the game where he catches a ton of balls, makes a huge impact.
But that's the thing. He had that game against the Saints. Like, Jauan Jennings caught 2 touchdowns in that game. I believe he was tremendous for San Francisco. It was a big reason why they won that game in New Orleans. But I do think that, and this is not Jauan Jennings' fault, but his injury and the lack of receiver depth has kind of made him redundant with Demarcus Robinson and Kendrick Bourne in the building. And now you have 3 guys that are starting a wide receiver for you that can't get open 5-10 yards downfield, don't possess speed, and everything is kind of clogged up in the middle of the football field, which is where Mac Jones' bread and butter is made. And right now, they don't have a deep threat. They don't have a boundary X wide receiver, and they have to have Brandon Aiyuk come back. They have to have Pearsall come back to hopefully open things up. But if you don't have that, you don't get to see the best of a player like Jauan Jennings. And I think that's kind of the big knock, where it's like, for him, he is in a disadvantage with those guys being out. But if you want to get paid similarly to some of those guys, you have to play well when those guys aren't playing. So I do think that for Jauan, it stinks because he's not going to get paid what he thinks he's worth.
Yeah.
But it doesn't seem like there's even a future where San Francisco can retain him in the offseason and hopefully have a more well-rounded receiving core in 2026. I would love to have Jauan Jennings back. He is that tight end number 2, big slot receiver. He's a mismatch for smaller nickel cornerbacks, but it really does seem like that Jauan Jennings' future almost isn't even up to San Francisco. Now, maybe there's a chance he realizes that, come back for a year, kind of re-maximize my value and go elsewhere. But if he wants to get paid and a team will pay him, the Patriots might pay him, who knows? It just seems like the fate of Jauan Jennings' future isn't even in San Francisco's hands anymore. There is no contract extension talks. There is no 2026 return for Jauan. It feels like they are going towards a breakup and nothing can stop that. And it's the antics, it's the low production. It is simply just maybe Jauan Jennings has kind of worn out his welcome in San Francisco. And I think fans, maybe even Kyle to a certain extent, might be done with it. I like Jauan. You like Jauan. We all love Jauan, but it just seems as if they're on rocky waters and nobody really wants to say it because things aren't perfect now. Like, I think if San Francisco had Aiyuk and Pearsall healthy, they would trade Jauan Jennings. I really think they would.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing is that people keep saying, the Giants have interest in Jauan Jennings. I don't think they can afford to move him. Let's say you trade Jauan Jennings. And okay, so we traded him. We're going to go with Kendrick Bourne and Jordan Watkins, their top 2 receivers. No, you're not going to do that. Demarcus Robinson, who's been hit and miss. This guy, we were like, oh, this guy's going to be great for us. Comes back. Like, it's almost like when he wasn't, like when he was suspended, he was just on the couch playing PlayStation and watching movies all day long. And then he's like, oh, I got to go back to work. He just seems really out of sync. And not to mention the deep bomb that Mac Jones threw him that went like right through his hands. I was just like, bro, that's why you got you, was to be a deep threat to stretch the field. But it's like, what's going on? I don't understand.
Kyle Chipto says here in the YouTube chat, you can easily move Jauan. He's been a net negative the past few weeks, excuse me. Whereas Marvicti says they should keep Jauan Jennings. And I think that I don't think Jauan Jennings is getting traded by any means. I think they need him right now because of how weak the receiving core is. And they want to have one reliable guy, albeit he hasn't been that player this season for most of it. And they've been using Bourne and Robinson. But I do think that Jauan Jennings' future in San Francisco, like for all the talk of a trade Brandon Aiyuk, you get him out of here. Like, fans should really take their feelings towards Aiyuk, who still has high potential, albeit there's an injury there and there are certain concerns. Like, Jauan is somewhat healthy and he's playing, which is great, but would you rather have a somewhat healthy Jauan Jennings who isn't producing for you? Like, fans hate Brandon Aiyuk, hate him. Like, whenever there's an update of, oh, trade him, he's soft, he's a diva, it's like, you should be mad at Jauan Jennings because he's playing and he's been bad for you for like the last 4 games. And I think that I just think it's time for a departure, time for a breakup. Now, I'll ask you this. With Jauan Jennings, let's say his value right now is probably a 6th-round draft pick, right? He has some value. He can say he's hurt. He's in a bad offense, doesn't have the quarterback. But on another team, there is some value he can offer to them as a blocker, as a wide receiver, as a kind of double tight end, whatever you want to call it. Do you think San Francisco, 1, might trade him, but 2, do you think there is a way where San Francisco feels comfortable once Pearsall comes back or after the game against the Giants that they could maybe attach a pick and Jauan for a player in return?
I mean, they could. I just don't see them doing it. I think that they're too shallow at the receiver position to really do that. They'd have to do that. They would have to trade him if they knew that getting the additional draft pick for him would secure them another player. Like, okay, if you give us, a 5th-round pick plus your 5th-round pick, so I want 2 5th-round picks, you can get this player. And then someone else is offering it, and then, okay, let's just trade him. But it has to be somebody substantial for them to be like, hey, let's move Jauan to get him. Because at the end of the day, Kyle says that he likes Jauan. I love his passion and all this stuff. I mean, I don't know what you expect him to say. But I think Jauan Jennings is kind of going the way of Deebo Samuel, where Deebo ran his mouth. Deebo kind of wore out his welcome here. And then but then he didn't back it up. He was dropping passes, and we saw him last night. He doinked the ball right off his head, interception. I was like, I tweeted that. I was like, there's our Deebo. There he is. I was like, that's the Deebo of last year. So, and I really feel like with Deebo, he ran his mouth. He couldn't back it up. And then at that point, he was like, hey, I just want to get traded. I think it's time for us to move on. Because he made an ass of himself.
Yeah.
I'll say this though, one time that Deebo ran his mouth and then backed it up big time was against the Eagles. We went to Philly and we kicked the crap out of them.
Right.
But that Eagles team was bad.
Well, Deebo also put on social media last year he wasn't getting the ball, and then he got the ball the most on the entire team. It was still bad. Then he got traded. So
it was bad. But
I feel like go ahead.
He's kind of going in that same direction where it's like, he wants a contract. They didn't give it to him. There's a rumor that he wanted to get traded. And then he comes out and plays, and he's not played all that well. Now, granted, he's had some injuries, but that's the NFL. Like, it's going to happen. And when you get the ball on a deep pass, you have to catch the ball, especially when you're trying to get back in the game. And he didn't do that. So, and then not only that, but the penalty, the face mask.
Yeah,
it was so unnecessary. It was like when you watch the replay, you're like, "Well, why'd you do that?" You know what I mean? It was just
and you can't bench him. You can't, you can't look elsewhere.
He knows that too. He's not stupid. He knows you can't bench me. What are you got, Jordan Watkins? Look, Jordan Watkins had a great opportunity to make a big play, and it was just like right through his hands, and that was it. That was it.
Give him a break. I can also commend Jauan for playing through his injuries and his
absolutely.
5 broken ribs and his ankle and his shoulder. Like, he's been hit really hard this year, and he's been a lame duck in some passes that Mac Jones and even Brock Purdy has made, and he's got it back up, or he's missed a handful of weeks and he returned and been hobbled in his return. So I don't think selling Jauan, you ain't going to get much for him, but I do think that there is a departure on the way, at least for Jauan, when the year's over with.
But if he comes out next week and he has a big game with 8 catches for 100 yards and 2 touchdowns, we'll be saying, "Yo, you got to resign this guy."
Well, right, and
that's what we do. That's what everybody does.
But a lot of this conversation is because Jauan has not been great since week 2 against the Saints. He's been hurt. The production's been bad. He's actively hurting the team when he's on the football field. And the trade deadline is 1 week from today. That's why we're having the conversation of, Jauan Jennings' future could be up in the air.
It could be, though. It really could be.
And maybe San Francisco buys and sells. Who knows? But I think with Pearsall and Aiyuk still being out and really no signs of return around the corner, Jauan's probably locked in for at least the next, second half of the season. But the offseason will hold different things for Jauan Jennings. That said, I want to remind the people watching and listening, they can use promo code 49ersaccess, 49 ERSACCESS at SeatGeek.com to save yourself $20 off your first purchase. If you want to watch your San Francisco 49ers play on the road or at home, maybe you want to see Jauan Jennings play before he leaves in free agency, use that promo code 49ers Access.
You want to go to MetLife Stadium? You can use that promo code.
You want to get a torn ACL? You want to get turf toe? Go to MetLife Stadium this Sunday and watch Niners play with the promo code 49ers Access. All right, Dre. The people came for one thing, and it wasn't Jauan Jennings talk. They came for the thumbnail. They came for the San Francisco 49ers trade deadline plans. We have some rumors, we have some reports, and we have some intriguing targets they could look to acquire at next Tuesday's trade deadline. The edge rushing position is the focus because last Sunday against the Houston Texans, it was ugly. I think they had 10 total pressures, and there really wasn't much to love from San Francisco's pass rush. And on top of that, Samuel Kawanu got hurt. He is day-to-day. And then today, that being Tuesday, October 28th, Trevis Gibson, who was their third edge rusher against Houston, he got claimed by the Panthers off the practice squad. Leaving just 2 healthy edge rushers on the active roster.
What a dirty move.
Michael Williams and Robert Beal Jr. Not ideal for San Francisco by any means, but the edge rushing group is the focus of the trade deadline. San Francisco did work out Clelin Ferrell, a familiar face of the 49ers, Kingsley Jonathan, and Andrew Farmer today, so maybe some help, some insulation coming in some depth pieces, but not great options if you ask me. Hence why the trade deadline becomes what everyone is looking towards as to what is San Francisco going to do. There's the one big fish out there I think we have to hit on first because there has been some mixed reporting on his availability, and that is Giants edge rusher Kayvon Thibodeau. Now, wouldn't it be something if San Francisco walks in the MetLife Stadium this Sunday, 10 a.m., gets the victory, fingers crossed nobody else gets hurt, but on the plane ride home, Kayvon Thibodeau is on San Francisco's plane, not the New York Giants plane. I think that would be something. I would be, of the edge rushers on the market, maybe Trey Hendrickson, probably not Max Crosby, but I'd be pretty much all in on at least trying to get Kayvon Thibodeau under contract through 2026. He's young. He can play the inside. He can play the outside. He'll deepen their NASCAR package and hopefully bring some more ferocity to San Francisco's pass rush. However, Jordan Schultz this morning of The Score and Fox Sports said that the Giants might be open to dealing Kayvon Thibodeau. Then about an hour later, we had a source off because Mike Garafolo of NFL Network said they're not trading him. He's not for sale. And what do you make of that, Dre? Because I think for the right price, anybody could be had. But the question really is, would San Francisco maybe meet the right price if it is maybe a top 50th overall pick.
I mean, look, are they going to make a move to get a pass rusher? There's been a lot of talk that he's trying to do that John Lynch has been working the phones trying to get a pass rusher in here. Will it be Kayvon Thibodeau? It could be. We're going to New York. It's a great opportunity for him to be like, hey, now that we're here, let's talk about this. Obviously, it'd be for draft pick compensation, I would imagine, because they want to rebuild their team over in New York now they got Jackson Dart. Which we'll talk about that game too, because I'm a little nervous about the Giants game. I feel like Jackson Dart is going to shred them. But I think Thibodeau is definitely an option. But I mean, they have to get somebody. The loss of Gibson, not that he was a world breaker, but now that you don't even have him anymore, you have to get somebody. I even heard a rumor that they were calling on the Saints to ask about Chase Young. And I'm like, that can't be true.
Yeah, I don't buy that.
I don't buy that, but I mean,
after how things went. Now, that doesn't mean San Francisco wouldn't be open to a reunion of some sorts with some previous players. I talked to somebody in Tennessee yesterday, and I asked them, hey, what are the odds that Arden Key's a San Francisco 49er by the end of the week? And they said a high probability. Now, if that deal doesn't come through, then such is life. But I think there's a pretty good chance Arden Key is at least a big target for San Francisco. They need some depth. They got to get some bodies in the building. They are depleted on the defensive line. He can play the inside. He can play the outside. He was in San Francisco in 2021. And no, he's not a world beater. However, so far this year, he has an 8.2 pass rush win rate and 9 total pressures on a really, really, really bad Titans defense. Yeah. And he's only played 5 games. To put that in perspective for you, an 8.2 pass rush win rate is 0.7 away from Brian Burns of the New York Giants. Now, obviously, there's context involved in that, but Arden Key is no slouch. Arden Key is no terrible player. He's depth. He isn't not going to start for you, although he's starting this team currently with Sam Okawano probably out. But I do think buying low depth pieces might be what John Lynch does. Just get me through the year, get me through hopefully Bryce Young's return and Brock Purdy and Pierce Hall's return, and hopefully the offense can carry us in this young defense for the rest of the year. But personally, I would say Kayvon Thibodeau is my number one target. He fits exactly what they want. Young. They love Oregon Ducks defensive linemen. They truly do. But also, they even said that they don't want to risk trading high-end draft picks for guys for one season. He's not that. He's not Trey Hendrickson. You don't have to pay Kayvon Thibodeau for another 2 years after 2026, and he cost under $5 million the rest of this season. That, to me, is a no-brainer if you want to go big, if you want to go young, if the Giants are open to the idea. I can justify trading a second-round draft pick for Kayvon Thibodeau. That said, the smarter option, the more likely option is an Arden Key. It is a Joe Tryon-Shoyinka of the Browns. It is smaller guys for 6th and 7th round draft picks. But would you like the idea of adding depth over a star like Arden Key?
I think so. I mean, look, I've said it numerous times. I would love them to get a star pass rusher. You know, I've said Trey Hendrickson many, many times. But, you know, there's talk about the Niners possibly could go after Keon White of the Patriots.
Right.
I would love to get, if they could acquire 2, it doesn't have to be 2 pass rushers, but 2 defensive ends or defensive linemen for the D line. That would be huge because they need more depth. They're so shallow now. And then on top of that, could you believe that CJ West was a healthy scratch? Like, what? Why?
And then Collins and Elliott got hurt, and then one of them missed the rest of the entire game.
Yeah, it was like,
West hasn't been great. Well, let's not get it twisted, but it's like you don't have the fortune to not play defensive linemen. You only have 5 of those guys healthy currently.
Why are we a healthy scratch?
Yeah,
and we've seen the production that we got out of our top 3 picks. Last week we got, I think it was a total of like 3 tackles, maybe 4. CJ West didn't play. Alfred Collins had, I think, 2 tackles. And
And
so
he came back.
he came back, but the production wasn't really all that there on the stat sheet. And those are your top 3 picks. So I think they have to get more help on the defensive line. I would love them to get like an Arden Key and a guy like a Keon White, or just 2 guys that they could bring in just to add more depth.
See, the way I look at this is that if they get Arden Key for, say, a 6th round draft pick, or maybe it's they get Key in a 7th for a 5th or whatever, something like that is, if Key leaves in free agency and looks really good for you, you're getting that draft pick back anyways. Like, there's no harm in trading for Arden Key.
No.
He's pretty much free. But it's the Thibodeau trade I think I would really entertain the idea of. I don't know what the Giants want for him. It'd probably be a lot from a 1st-round draft pick, and it made things complicated. But I do think that Thibodeau, to me, makes the most sense. Young, under contract for the next 2 seasons. So far this year at the Giants, next to Abdul Carter and Brian Burns, an 11.2 pass rush win rate in 8 games. He's been healthy all year, 25 pressures. Again, and you're not going to be a superstar, but then you think of next year. Oh, we have Nick Bosa hopefully back healthy. Bryce Huff's back on the other edge. Then you have Kayvon Thibodeau on the inside. Michael Williams. You look, we have 4 dogs that if they can stay healthy, you can mix and match with the NASCAR package. Like, that is what Robert Saleh and Chris Kosar dream of. However, there is a question to be had here, and it's by our friend Aaron from 49ers First Takes with the $5 super chat. Thank you so much, Aaron, for the $5. Appreciate you, buddy. Can't wait to talk to you on Friday with the Cover 3 podcast. That said, Aaron says here, I don't believe the 49ers are invested in going all in this season. The injuries aren't going to stop. One trade won't fix everything that's broken. And I think it's a good point, hence why I don't think San Francisco's going to go out there and get Max Crosby or Trey Hendrickson, even if those guys were up for grabs. Those 2 players feel off the table. They're not getting Brian Thomas Jr. They have a lot of holes to fix. However, the edge rushing position is the most glaring one. They have plenty of linebackers, good or bad. They still have plenty of them out there. But some fans are saying, go get offensive linemen. Connor Colby's been really bad. Matt Hennessy's your backup center. Jake Brendel's not going to be back. I'll just say this. Teams are not trading starting caliber offensive linemen. And if they are...
They never do.
What if they are? You're wondering why. Now, Ben Barch should be back hopefully this Sunday, if not against the Rams in Week 10. Now, can he stay healthy? The odds would say no, but it's an improvement from Connor Colby. Maybe you get Brendel back in a week and a half or so. We shall see, which... good or bad, he's still your starting center. But Aaron's comment again, I don't believe San Francisco is invested in going all in this season. Do you agree with that? And would you say that would hinder San Francisco from maybe trying to buy or bid towards the top of the trade market?
I think they're invested in getting the playoffs this season because they want to, as a franchise.
They're 5-3. They're 5-3.
But as a franchise, you want to make the playoffs because that generates you more money. You want to be competitive. And I think that getting a guy that can possibly be here next season, if not longer, then you're adding to your stock of 2026. I think I'm going to say this out loud. I think a lot of the planning is probably going into what can we do in 2026? What can we do this season? But how is it going to affect 2026? Yeah. And so that's why a guy like Kayvon Thibodeau, you're going to have next season. So that's a benefit because you get control of him for next season. You know that you're going to have Bryce Huff. You're going to have Nick Bosa. Getting Bryce Huff and Thibodeau on each end would be a huge difference. We saw the difference that Bryce Huff made against the Falcons. He was the Nick Bosa on that team. He was getting to the quarterback faster and more consistently than we've seen him all season long. And then he got hurt.
Do you think that San Francisco's beginning to the year being 5-2, now 5-3? Because I viewed the year as kind of the pilot episode to the television show. Yeah. Of like, this is episode 1, and then they're going to go through the whole season, and then hopefully next year the budget's bigger, the lights are better, the insulation is better, they can get some more depth, they'll have a more well-rounded cast of characters. on the team to hopefully make the next year better and get better ratings, hence more success, and hopefully go to the playoffs. But do you think that from a fan perspective, their quick start being 5-2, not 5-3, ultimately has maybe made some fans irrational towards the trade deadline of you have to go all in. You're 5-3. You're half a game behind the Rams in Seattle for first place. You play the Rams in 2 weeks. You have to go all in. You are near first place. I think that to me is the sense I get of fans of like, really, Arden Key, you're scoffing at depth guys you desperately need. You don't have to pick and choose now. You don't have the luxury of that. You need guys in that room today. And I think fans are kind of being irrational.
The loss of Travis Gibson was huge. But then again, they sent their practice squad, and he was all out of what do you call it?
Elevations.
He was all out of elevations. I was gonna say call-ups, but that's Major League Baseball. He's all out of elevations, so they would have had to have signed him to their active roster if they wanted to use him again. Which is why which is another reason why he's gone. But yeah, I mean, when were we going to use him again? Who knows? So they need
Sunday against the Giants.
yeah. That's probably when they would have signed him. All right, you're going to be up here. Screw it. But now they have to make a move to get somebody. Robert Beal sucks. I don't know what he does out there when he goes. He doesn't do anything. Sam O, the guy gives a maximum effort, but doesn't always get home. He's just Also hurt now. So you're going to make a move. You won't have Kayvon Thibodeau for this Sunday's game because he'll be playing against you. If anything, you'll have him after the game. But they got to make a move. And to me, I would love for them to get a couple of players just to add more depth. Not shitty players, but players that that contribute. Like if they were going to get like an Arden Key and a Kayvon Thibodeau, you know what I mean? Like then you added two guys.
Even Arden Key and a Carl Granderson, like you don't have. I would love to have Kayvon Thibodeau here, but I do think it's more so just about yes, you have to have bodies, capable ones. Can't just have random dudes in there. They had that on Sunday against the Houston Texans, but right now you don't have a starting caliber pass rusher. That's a problem. Now once Bryce Huff comes back, you will, but you don't have a pass rusher, and it's a great comment here by Lori Matthews out there in Phoenix. Shout out Lori Matthews. She says, you desperately need depth, keep the vibes high, and give these young guys something to play for. Well, yes, I agree. I want to go deeper into that because I think an issue we have now with San Francisco is Micah Williams is not playing the way he was supposed to be used this season. He has to be your number one edge rusher. Now, he's a first-round pick, and I get that, but he ain't a pass rusher. He wasn't supposed to be. It was supposed to be Bosa and Huff and have the luxury of Michael on the interior on third downs. Now he's playing out of position. And he hasn't been playing great recently, but he's over his skis as a pass rusher. He isn't there just yet. So I do think that San Francisco has to find some guys. I think Arden Key would start on Sunday for San Francisco. I think Michael would slide back into his third down interior pass rushing set role, which makes sense. Like San Francisco is not going to find or reach the playoffs if they continue to have Michael play on the outside for three downs. There's no production there because that's not who he is. It's not who he was advertised to be. And I think that sets this Sunday up as a really important game for San Francisco. Absolutely. If you fall to 5-4 heading to the trade deadline, for whatever reason, whether it's the offense is bad or the defense stinks again, I don't know if they go and make a trade. I don't know if they sit back and go, Brock Purdy can save us and Pierce Hall can save us. If you're 5-4 heading into a game against the Rams at home, even with the returns that may happen, I don't know if San Francisco makes a deal. Again, I have said for weeks, this team has to make the front office want to buy into what they're selling.
Yeah.
And right now, the offense has scored under 20 points in 2 of the last 3 games, and the defense looks cooked. Now, the defense can hopefully get fixed with some guys on team, but this Sunday's game, I think, means a lot more than simple wins and losses. This could be dictating what the front office does on next Tuesday's deadline. What do you think about that, Dre?
I think this game is very important, but at the same time, like I said, they want to remain competitive. You never want to just mail it in like, hey, you know what? This team, it's not really a complete team anymore. We got a lot of injuries. let's just stand pat and just develop the guys we got. They can't do that because they don't have enough bodies. Like they need to get guys in here to help them out, and so they're going to be a little more desperate because they don't have enough guys to even suit up. So I do think that they're either going to go for one mega trade or they're going to try to get like a couple of guys in here to help out. I don't see them going for a receiver. I know. I think Larry was talking about them going after what's his face from the Jaguars. I don't see
Brian Thomas Jr.
Yeah, and look, he's a great talent, but I don't think the Niners would do that.
Jacksonville wouldn't do that.
No, and not to mention, well, I mean, they did say that he'd be available or possibly be available, but I just don't see them going after anybody offensively because then you got to work them back into your system. They got to learn the playbook. Yeah. At least on defense, it's a little more straightforward. Like go get the quarterback. You know, like all right, I got it.
It's funny too because somebody asked me on Twitter, I think it was, when's the last time a team acquired 2 edge rushers that you can think of? And I thought, well, I don't know, the San Francisco 49ers in 2023 when they got Randy Gregory, who wasn't great, but I digress, and then Chase Young. Obviously that was an all-in season. That is kind of the anti of what 2025 is, but I do think that there is precedent set that where San Francisco sees a need and they can maybe see a future of a playoff run, like you cannot host the Super Bowl and not be in the playoffs in the same season if you're the San Francisco 49ers.
You can't.
Like now you can technically, but it's a bad look.
You don't want to be. And that's why I think they're going to make a move to get some help in here. I think it's either going to be, like I said, it's either going to be a big mega trade, which probably is unlikely at this point, or a trade that brings in a couple of different guys to help them out. But my thing is this, if they add Cleveland Farrell, who they worked out today, I don't see why they wouldn't do that because they had him in there before. Sure. They like what he did. Unless he looked like, okay, this is not the same guy that he used to be. I feel like they're going to add Cleveland Farrell, and then they're going to go out. Like, he's going to be the second guy that we're talking about in this trade. Instead, they're going to add him and then go get somebody else. So now we have an edge setter, and we have a guy who can rush the quarterback.
It kind of sounds like San Francisco's going to bring back all the guys they had in the building in 2023 and 2021. Like, there is a sense that their trade deadline acquisitions are going to be Clelin Ferrell off the practice squad and Arden Key via trade, which, again, I like Arden Key and Clelin Ferrell is a nice dude, but, like, the needle isn't moving too much. That said, there are some names.
Treading water.
Right. And maybe that is what San Francisco thinks they have to do. Tread some water to get back to some guys returning. But I'll ask you this, Dre. Let's say San Francisco makes a small move. Let's say it's just Arden Key or somebody else, Keon White from the Panthers or from the Patriots, DJ Wanham from the Panthers, who knows? Are you buying what they're selling you right now? Like, do you think this team, once it gets back Brock Purdy, hopefully Pearsall, maybe a somewhat hindered Brandon Aiyuk, and still have the guys that are, fingers crossed, going to be healthy who they have now on the roster, do you think that team can make a run? Do you think that team is good enough to create some noise down the stretch from weeks 10 and on?
I think so, because here's why. We talk about them getting help. We talk about them, oh man, they're 5-3. The Kansas City Chiefs are 5-3. Okay. Anything is possible. And granted, they have Patrick Mahomes, and you'd be like,
they also look amazing now again, which I hate so much.
I know. But when you look at the remainder of their schedule, right? Obviously, you have the Giants. Say what you want, winnable game.
Yes.
The Rams, again, winnable game.
Probably going to lose that one, let's be honest.
But that's what we said last time, and we won.
You had Fred Warner last time. It's a big difference.
That's true. And then after that, you go to Arizona, at home against the Panthers, and you go to Cleveland. Cleveland, I'm worried about, and the reason why is because when you have a nasty pass rush, this Niner team is like, uh-oh. Like, look what happened against Houston. Houston has nothing going for it except for a pass rush, and they completely obliterated the Niners offense. But not only that, the Houston Texans, they couldn't get them off the field. Well, they had like 3 15 play, 10 play drives that just ate up the clock. After that, I was like, this is not good. You can't just get yourself back into a game when you barely have been in the game. But like I said, Arizona, Carolina, Cleveland, Tennessee, Indianapolis, who's actually a tough team this year, the Bears, Seattle, season's over. You can win New York, Arizona, Carolina, Cleveland, Tennessee. That's 5 games out of the next 6 games. I mean, I really don't see the Niners losing to Carolina. I don't see them. I mean, I can't see them losing to Cleveland, but they should be able to beat Cleveland. They should be able to beat Tennessee. They should be able to beat New York.
Sure.
So that's what? 6, 7, 8.
They
9,
have to win 10
10
games, basically. 10 games.
They might go, but they have a shot to go 10-4 by the time we get to week 16 against against the Colts.
Well,
Feliciano was done. Yeah, he's not coming back. He's on the couch. Like, let me come out there. I got you. No.
Not to pat myself on the back, but I'll do it for my own gratitude. I said San Francisco is going to go 10-7 this year.
And they might with all the injuries.
And they're on track for that. And I said they'd be a wild card team. I don't see them beating the Rams. I see them being a wild card team. They're going to be in second place in the NFC West. They're going to beat out the Seattle Seahawks hopefully this year. Now that was even with Warner and Bosa healthy, and things have certainly changed. But I do want to list some names off and tell me yay or nay on guys you think or you'd want them to trade for. And I'll give you some stats that maybe back up or further entice you into maybe trading for guys. Chase Young's hurt. Not going to talk about him. He's just a disaster. They call him Jog Young for a reason. They've done there. They've been that. Not a chance. I already talked about Kayvon Thibodeau, but I'll do it again for a second. 11.2 pass rush win rate of the teams, which are the Falcons, the Panthers, the Saints. Excuse me, that's wrong. I'm dumb. Of teams that are the Patriots, the Titans, the Giants, and the Saints. So 3 really bad teams and 1 team that might trade some depth that's still young to maybe get some draft pick compensation. Thibodeau right now has the 5th highest pass rush win rate of those teams. And the first 2 players have played a total of 4 games, 1 and 3 apiece. So he's one of the best guys on the market for a potential edge rushing addition, albeit his availability is in question. Would you say yes to Kayvon Thibodeau, and what would you give up? First round, second, or third round draft pick?
A third round pick, easily.
That's all you'd move?
I wouldn't give him more than that. That's a lot. A third round pick for him? Jesus Christ. To me, a second round pick? What
if the Giants said, hey, we have to have a third round pick and a 5th round pick and then a 4th round pick next year? Because they want that second round value for a guy who's still under 26 years old and under contract for 2 years.
I think you give him a 3rd round pick and a 5th round pick next year. That's a max I would go, because you still have to rebuild this team. You can't just give up everything, all these picks for one guy. So, if it's like a Trey Hendrickson, then you're probably getting my 2nd round pick. But for Thibodeau, I would go no higher than a 3rd round pick. If you gave up a 2nd round pick for Kayvon Thibodeau, I think you'd be way off base. You just gave up the fucking moon for this guy. Sorry.
Okay. So Dre sets a hard limit of a 3rd round pick and maybe something else.
But the Giants are 2-6. They're 2-6. Even with Jackson Dart, they're not making a run.
The thing is that they're young, right? And they are looking at it from, we don't have to trade him. So if we're going to trade him, you have to really offer us something. Right? It's the same thing San Francisco does with their wide receivers during contract negotiations. We don't have to trade Deebo Samuel. We don't have to trade Brandon Aiyuk. If you want him, you got to overpay for him. So if you're San Francisco, would you slightly overpay? Maybe a 2nd round draft pick, which if you're good enough, could be a late 2nd round draft pick, mind you, for Kayvon Thibodeau for 2 years of relatively cheap play. Would you do that?
Say it again.
So if you're San Francisco, would you overpay, let's say a 2nd round draft pick, which if you're good enough, say 10-7, will probably be in the 20s, so a late 2nd round draft pick for 2 years of Kayvon Thibodeau for a relatively cheap contract, and if he gets paid in 2 years' time, you get a compensation pick in return. Would you do that?
No. I personally would not do that, because I think that you can find somebody in the 2nd round that you can draft that will be a huge contributor to this team that you'd have control for 4 years. So to me, I wouldn't do a second round pick. I would do the highest I would do for Kayvon Thibodeau would be a third round pick. And even then it'd be like, oh. And then if they wanted more, it's like, okay, you're going to get a third round pick and, a late day 3 pick because I'm just trying to.
Third and a 6, a third and a 7.
I mean, would you trade? Let me ask you this: if they said we want Jauan Jennings, would you include him in the trade?
Yes, right now.
Yeah, I'd be like, go ahead. here's his bags. I already packed for him. That's fine.
They could take Jair Brown. They can take Jason
Jair Brown. You know what?
Whatever they want.
You know what? Now you mentioned that. It's funny that you said his name because I had something up right here that I was just staring at. This is when I was like, wait, say it again? Because I ran into this and I was like, no way. Okay. This is going to jack up your whole overlay, but it's okay.
It's all right.
Oh, it looks great.
See, not an overlay. It's a background now.
It's background. So, Jair Brown allowed a perfect 158.3 passer rating when targeted versus the Tech. Led the team in missed tackles and had 2 more missed tackles that didn't count because he couldn't get close enough to touch the ball carrier.
Yeah, he's slow.
John Chapman.
Yeah. Niners Reverse Podcast, big fans. We love John Chapman. Yeah, Jair Brown's not good, man. Jair Brown's not good.
And I think he was better at his hybrid position. And then I think he did well enough at that. They were like, you know what?
Okay. I have to get on my soapbox. I have to get on my soapbox for a second because the Niners safety position, I get they have a type. They like those playmakers that may not be the fastest guys, might not be the best in coverage, but they're going to have their nose around the football. Talanoa Hufanga, Jair Brown out of college at Penn State, 2023 in the Super Bowl, right? Like, there's examples of that. Malik Mustafa, Jason Pinnock is the exact same way. Marquis Siegel, very similar player, albeit, has some better coverage skills than Jair Brown does, albeit not much better, but still does. And he's a rookie, so you can give him time. They have a type. However, that type only works if you have a capable coverage safety on the other side of them. Hence, Jimmy Ward. Hence, Tashawn Gibson. That's why you saw Hufanga and Brown play really good in 2023. They had a capable coverage safety. And Gibson wasn't even great, but he was good enough, right? And Jimmy Ward was phenomenal in coverage. He was so good he could play nickel and safety. That's how great he was. San Francisco desperately, if they want to keep going on the trend of this playmaking, safety that's around the football, gets picks and fumbles, those guys are great. They can change the game for you, right? But you got to have the roaming coverage guy behind them because the plays in the back end are bad. And if those guys miss tackles, because they will, like they did against the Houston Texans, you're going to lose games like that. Ugly and terrible. So that's my soapbox. San Francisco doesn't have 2 true starting safeties. They have one in Mustafa off an ACL injury. This is basically his preseason. I'll give them the time to get back into the fray. But other than that, those 3 other guys aren't very good and they can't cover. So, but that said, Dre, let's get back to go ahead.
But it's like you said. I mean, this Sunday depicts a lot about where the season's going to go for San Francisco. If they go out there at 5-3 and they blow this game, drop to 5-4, and then lose the Rams and they're 5-5, do you make a trade? You want to remain competitive, but it changes the whole complexity of the trade deadline. If you win this game, go to 6-3, and somehow you beat the Rams, who's probably going to be the hardest team you're going to play, that's going to change.
But it even makes losing that game against the Rams swallowable, if that's even a word. Like, you can deal with it, right?
Yeah, you can.
Like, you can be 6-4 and be like, okay, like we're still 6-4. We're in a good spot. We're in the wild card. We have the Cardinals and the Panthers and the Tennessee Titans coming up on our schedule. Like, that's very doable for San Francisco to win 10 games. Like, the game against the Giants might be, at least up until this point in time, their most important of the season, which it's not technically because of division games and conference games, but you have to win this Sunday.
You do.
Because if you don't, like, you are one game away from 500. And you are. Go ahead, Drake.
I'll be right back. Sorry, my wife is calling me right now. Hold on.
But going back to the trade deadline conversation, because I think there are plenty of guys out there that San Francisco could try to acquire. Keon White's name is come up plenty of times on today's show and in the rumor mill. Not having a great year in New England, but could be a depth piece for them. Again, not great this season, a 2.7 pass rush win rate, only 3 pressures, but only 76 opportunities. He was a healthy scratch last Sunday for the Patriots, so maybe that's an option for San Francisco for really cheap depth. On top of that, Carl Granderson of the New Orleans Saints. There are some character concerns, certainly, but a 7.5% pass rush win rate in 8 games for the Saints, who are a really, really bad team. Get him in San Francisco. You can hopefully find some resurgence. Obviously, Arden Key, maybe. I think this could be an option for San Francisco where they double dip with the Titans. Hey, go get Arden Key. That's great. You can feel good about yourself, but double dip and go get Drummond Jones as well from Tennessee. The Titans want to sell. Jones is an older player, veteran guy, having a pretty good year so far. 12 pressures, a 10.3% pass rush win rate. You can avoid having to play guys like, Samuel Kawanu all the time, have them be a starter. You can avoid having to play Robert Beal Jr. You can allow Mike Hill to go back inside on third down. So a lot of guys out there for San Francisco, plenty of options to choose from. But if I had to give you a layout, Dre, who's back now on the show.
Sorry, there was a lockdown at my kid's school. I guess there was somebody running around in a near street. Gosh. Anyway, I don't live in a bad neighborhood. So everybody was like, what's going on? Anyway, everyone's safe and sound. So
that's
go
good.
ahead.
That's good. Yeah. Good to hear. Well, I was just going to ask you, if you were to lay out plan A and plan B for the 49ers trade deadline, give me the plan A, the one thing you want to get done, the one thing wishful thinking, if you will, but plan B, the thing you assume is likely to happen. Give me your plan A and plan B. Who do you want them to acquire, whether it's an edge rusher, linebacker? Tell me what you think is going to happen and what you want to happen on next Tuesday's trade deadline.
What I want to happen is what everyone's going to get mad at me about, and everyone's going to make comments about. I want Trey Hendrickson. I want the biggest, baddest pass rusher out there. I'd be willing to give up a second-round pick to get him because...
Wait.
What?
You would trade a second-round pick for an injured Trey Hendrickson.
Yes.
On a
he's had contingent upon him signing an extension when he comes over here. The guy has back-to-back 17.5 sack seasons. This guy's an absolute monster, and he has a crazy motor. You don't have to worry about like a Chase Young where he's just gonna, kind of mail it in the NFC title game. No. This guy has a motor. This guy has a great work ethic. This is a guy that I want on my team. If he's going to sign a contract, an extension, then I make a trade and I get him. Because next year, imagine having him, Nick Bosa, Bryce Huff, Michael Williams. That's a deadly defensive line, especially on third down. That's on bearing any injury, that's nearly unstoppable.
Do you think Hendrickson, 1, will want to sign an extension and forego testing the free agent market? And 2, do you think that they would actually be able to keep Bosa, Hendrickson, and Huff when they could maybe trade a 3rd-round draft pick and maybe a 5th-round draft pick for Kayvon Thibodeau and not worry about that next year?
This is hypothetical. This is the big splash.
Wishful thinking.
I would love it. I'd be like, fuck, let's go. If you bring in Trey Hendrickson, then that replaces your Nick Bosa. So now you're only down Fred Warner. So that changes the complexity of what's happening here. You're like, wait a minute. Now we're only down Fred Warner. That's a little different. It's a little different. My other one.
Yeah, your likely option.
The likely option? Oh, man. How much into reality do I want to go?
It can be one trade. It can be 2 trades. It can be no trades. It can be whatever you want it to be. But what do you think is going to happen?
Kayvon Thibodeau to the Niners, because we're going there. We're going to New York. And how many times have we seen teams when they visit the other team, all of a sudden a trade happens? Who's big about in Major League Baseball, whenever your team goes there, the trade deadline, you're like, oh, they're going to do something. And that's usually when they work something out because they're already there. So I think to me, more likely you sign Cleveland Farrell, you get Kayvon Thibodeau, and that's your big splash, and that's you end up having Thibodeau and Bryce Huff as your primary edge rushers. And if you get a guy in Cleveland Farrell, that allows you to push Michael Williams to the interior, and I think that's really what they're looking at. Obviously, they need bodies at defensive end, but I think with Cleveland Farrell, they love how he sets the edge. If they can get him to do that on this team, that'll push Michael to the interior. Now that changes the whole complexity of your defensive line.
Okay. I like where your head's at. I mean, obviously.
If you want to go, and then if you want to go lackluster,
you get nobody and you lose. You win nothing.
They signed veteran Mike Pennell, who got cut by the Bengals today.
All right. That's not even an edge rusher. It's
it's a defensive tackle. You're just like, oh, okay, well, we got some help there.
Okay. I will give my hopeful option, my wishful thinking option, and then we'll wrap things up here. I want Kayvon Thibodeau. 2 years under contract still. He's young, insane motor, great NASCAR package they can run with Bosa, Michael. You have Thibodeau, you have Bryce Huff.
They love Oregon guys.
They love Oregon guys. Defoe, Armstead, Lenore. Like they've been to 3 Oregon games this year. They love the Ducks. I think that is my wishful thinking. It just makes too much sense. It gives San Francisco exactly what they need now and in the future. That's the move I would do. I would probably be okay giving up a second-round draft pick, but again, if you didn't have to, I'd be much inclined to make a trade for Kayvon Thibodeau. That said, my likely option is I think they're getting Arden Key. I think it's a foregone conclusion they're getting Arden Key.
It's just that we had the same conversation last season. They're probably going to get Arden Key or Sebastian Joseph Day, and they got Khalil Davis. It was like, what?
And they were also a terrible team last year. And they had pass rushers. They weren't all hurt, but now they're all hurt. They have to find some bodies, and Key can plug in on Sunday. Really,
a healthy Nick Bosa. So it was like, they still have that,
right?
But I mean, we've had this conversation. People were talking about it all last year. I think they're going to get Arden Key. Even the year they got Chase Young, I think they're going to get Arden Key.
Okay, well, I didn't say that, so I'm going to say it now.
Charles Omenihu.
I think they're going to get Arden Key, and I would not be shocked. And this is my surprise pick. I think the Minnesota Vikings might be shocking sellers. Carson Wentz is out for the year. J.J. McCarthy coming back from an injury. There's a chance Max Bozemer is playing quarterback for this team at some point. I could see the Vikings be a team that does sell off some pieces. Don't be shocked. Miles Murphy, I think the Vikings could be somebody. But also the Bengals too, man. Like you can look at the Bengals and look at them and say, you can't get Hendrickson, but how far can they fall before they're willing to start selling off pieces? Maybe you go and get a Miles Murphy from the Bengals, who has a 9.8 pass rush win rate this season.
I mean, they didn't even want to sign their first round picks, the contract that he wanted. They had to negotiate. They didn't even want to give Hendrickson an extension. The team is cheap.
Yeah.
And they're 3-5.
Dre, you heard it there first. You hope they're getting for Hendrickson, but you think they'll get Kayvon Thibodeau. I want to get Kayvon Thibodeau, but I think they may get themselves the Arden Keys of the world. But thank you so much, Shay, for coming on the show.
Sebastian Joseph Day. That's the next one.
Thank you, everybody in the YouTube chat. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe here on 49ers Access and to Dre Area Sports. And as always, until next time, my name is Sterling Bennett, and stay faithful.